Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten. Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, Health, Fitness, and Sport. And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love. We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be. So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together. Hi, friends.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Wendy.
We did it.
I know.
Our microphones, everything seems to be working right away.
I know. We didn't even know what to do. We got on this, and usually it takes us so long that we're like, can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah. Do we just go? Yeah. So here we are. We just went. How was your week?
It was pretty good. You know, I'm pretty traditional. I pretty much do the same thing. Every day is pretty typical. Like Monday's a typical Monday. All my days of the week are different, but every day's, every Monday's the same. Every Tuesday's the same. Pretty repetitive. Again, I keep it simple, but so far so good. I'm healthy.
Ooh.
I got some sleep last night. Yesterday I was in
makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yesterday I was in just a horrific mood. And I knew why. It's because I was tired. I knew exactly why I was tired. I didn't sleep well. And so I just went to bed earlier and it worked. I slept well.
That's interesting you said that, because that actually brings me to my wellness win of the week. Good segue. My wellness win is there were, out of the last week, I would say 4 nights that I actually went to bed at my scheduled time that I like to go to bed, so that I woke up earlier feeling refreshed, and it was so much more productive. Because a lot of times I like to try to get things done before bed. So I'll, especially the nights I don't have Cora. The nights that I have Cora, we have our bedtime routine. She needs to take a bath, get ready for school, pack her lunch, blah, blah, blah. We have a bunch of stuff. But on the nights I don't have her, and then on the weekends I don't have her, I get home from whatever I'm doing, and then I'm like, oh, I could get so much done tonight because I have 2 hours. Right. And then I end up wasting a lot of time because I'm tired. And this past week, I think 4 of those nights, because she was with her dad last weekend, I did this both Friday and Saturday night. I went to bed early, and then I woke up early, getting enough sleep, woke up on my own earlier than my alarm. And in that extra hour I had in the morning, each day I got like 8 things done. Whereas if I was trying to do those things the night before, I would have got like 1 thing done and then wasted a bunch of time and then been mad at myself. So that's a huge win for me to go to bed early. Because it's hard for me to go to bed early. I want to stay up. And but I was so much more productive. So I made that mental note to myself, and I'm going to practice it tonight because Cora's at her dad's tonight, and I don't have anything I have to do tonight. So I'm going to go to bed early and then tackle my list tomorrow morning.
I love it. So my wellness win, which I didn't think about until just now, hearing your wellness win about going to bed, is, I've been reading a lot more. And so I finished 2 books. I'm into my 3rd book, and January's not even over. And I don't have a problem going to bed early. My problem is, Don we wake up at 5 every morning because he has to go to work. Sometimes I wake up at 3. A lot of times I wake up at 3. Probably every night I wake up at 3. And a lot of times, sometimes I just can't fall back asleep. And then we have to wake up at 5. So the point of my story is actually about my reading, is the nights that I've been really tired and wanting to go to bed, I've given myself, at first I was saying I want to read 20 pages a night. And usually I start reading around 8:00. I'm giving myself permission to say, you don't have to read 20 pages tonight. Get through 5, get through 1. I just want to keep up my streak of reading every day. That's my streak going on right now. I don't want to miss a day of reading. And so it took me a few times to say, you're falling asleep and you're only on page 9. That's okay.
Right.
No one's telling you have to read 20 pages except yourself. So then I'm like, oh yeah, my streak isn't 20 pages a day. It's just making sure I read every day and getting through 2 books, each of about, close to 300 pages was pretty substantial for me in the first month. So I feel really good about that. Again, my wellness wins always revive me. They make me feel good. They make me more energetic. And another wellness win, since this was going to be my original wellness win, was running a 5K. I think as endurance athletes, myself included, and athletes I coach, they say, oh, I don't want to miss a longer training session just to run a 5K. Can I do more? Can I do less? And I, was kind of in that mindset of, I don't want to just do a 5K today. And I said, well, no, you can just do a 5K today. You're running as hard as you can. You're going to be exhausted. And I did really well. So getting this kind of baseline assessment, I ran my 5K. I ran way faster than I thought I was capable of running right now. And I was exhausted. It actually, running a 5K as hard as I could, took it more out of me than doing like a 10-mile easy run.
Right.
And so it was just another reminder, to say your training's going well, a 5K done properly, you're exhausted, you're getting that endorphin high that you get from exercise, and you can get that from a 5K. So that was a wellness win for me as well.
Right. And I often notice when I do a 5K, so Wendy and I are the same way. Like our bodies take a while to warm up because we're endurance athletes and we're a little bit older. So I used to just show up and like run a 5K. So that's all I did for a 5K was a 5K. But now I do a little bit of a warm up.
Yes.
Whether it's, I usually like jog for 10 minutes and then I do some like mobility and some, drills and stuff like that. And then maybe I walk a little bit just to stretch out my hips. Mm-hmm. And then we run the 5K as fast as we can. Well, then everything's tight. So you're like, well, I better either walk or run a little bit after.
Right.
And then I find, because I did a 5K a few weeks ago, and the same thing is I ended up getting 6 miles in.
Right. And I know that a 5K with the warm up and cool down will still give me 6 to 7 miles.
Yeah. So it's
and then like at the end of the 5K, I waited for awards. So I was just walking around.
And then you're on your legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it works a whole different energy system. So I think it's good. Exhausting. Like I always tell my athletes who are even training for an Ironman, I'm like, do these 5Ks, do these 10Ks. If you want something to consider it as a workout, consider it your speed workout, because there's no time in your 18-mile run where you're going as fast as you are in your 5K. So a 5K is a speed workout for an Ironman training.
Right.
And it, like you said, it's good to see where you're at, a good baseline, works that different energy system. It gets like when I do a 5K, I forget, even though it's hard, because people say this to me. I'm sure you hear this all the time. Oh, you're only doing a 5K. A 5K must be so easy for you because you run marathons. And I'm like, no, a 5K is like 20 plus minutes of like going as hard as I can. So like my heart rate is maxed out. Whereas a marathon, my heart rate's never maxed out.
Right. And our bodies are adjusted, if you train as long as we have, to the endurance. So the endurance stuff doesn't take it out of us like a 5K does.
Right.
I was really sore. It was on the road too. And I haven't been running much on the road. So just the pavement that my muscles weren't used to made me pretty sore the next day.
Yeah. I do that if I haven't done a lot of hills, and I'll do like, because Wendy does hills all the time. But if I haven't done hills in a while and I'm like, ooh, I better start doing hills. St. George is coming up.
Right.
I hit my first downhill run. I'm sore for like 3 days because of the pounding on my quads. Even if it's on trail or grass, like there's one of the gyms I work at, there's a huge hill, a grassy hill. So I just run up and down that. And so it's more gentle because it's grass, but it's still, when your body's not used to that downhill, your quads are like,
yeah.
So, well, we have a cool topic today, and Wendy and I decided on the topic, but we don't know what each other is sharing, so we might pick the same things, but we thought that would be fine because we both have a kind of a different take on things. But we're talking about all the myths that are out there in the wellness industry, and maybe talking about, debunking some of these myths, because a myth is something that is collectively we accept it, but it's not rooted in fact. So it's not based on fact or research or anything scientific. It's just something that somebody put out there and everyone's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But the danger in that is that a lot of people follow these myths or believe these myths. And so it affects their personal wellness or even the advice they're giving their friends, which might not be the best advice. So Wendy and I were each going to pick, we decided 3. We'll see how long that takes us. And then kind of talk about what these myths are, what's really going on behind them, and take it from there. When I was thinking of my list, I was like, I'm just going to write down a bunch of things I think of, or that people say to me or ask me as a coach or a personal trainer or a vegan. A lot of them, I like that. My list was long in the vegan category. That I thought right off the bat of like 20. So I feel like this might be once a month, once every 6 weeks, once every 2 months. We're going to take 6 more myths or however many and talk about them, because I think this is going to be really valuable for our listeners.
Yeah, I do too.
So Wendy, why don't you start with myth number 1?
Well, again, we are not 100% experts on everything we're talking about, but we know more than the general population. And we want to provide evidence-based knowledge and talk about our experiences with these certain myths. So my first one is taking a cold plunge, an ice bath, and just the realm of recovery tools like massage guns, like a Theragun is a popular brand, compression boots, ice baths, ice therapy, cold therapy, is it cryotherapy is the cold therapy, massage. I mean, there's just a lot of things that people invest in for recovery. And my point of view, as well as many experts that I follow that do the science, is that if you're not getting proper sleep, proper nutrition, and following a proper exercise or training protocol to make sure you're recovering, those products aren't going to give you the same effect as if you focus on your sleep, your nutrition, and following the proper training protocol. I'm in this group on Facebook, Training for an Ironman, and people are asking all the time, I'm training 20 hours a week. What kind of recovery tools should I use? And it's like, okay, let's back up. Let's look at your nutrition. Let's look at your sleep first. Let's look at your training protocol. Maybe it's too much volume, too much intensity, too much endurance. We're all different. And you just want to focus on those 3 things. So let's talk about ice baths. I started reading Wim Hof back in 2019, and that kind of exposed me to cold therapy. And back then, after I got used to taking cold showers, I had the opportunity to jump in the outside pool, which they didn't keep open. So I would only do it in the mornings when it was dark out. And I would only go waist deep because I just couldn't get myself to go all the way under. And then spring came along and that cold water became too warm and I kind of missed it. So over the years, I've kind of, take 3 or 4 months out of the year to do these cold plunges. Got down to 36 degrees last week. And my body has adapted, and I dive in and I fully submerge because that makes it easier for me to get in. And my body's adapting to it. And I'm doing it. The reason I started this is to get out of my comfort zone, because cold weather, cold water was just extremely uncomfortable for me. I used to dread the last day of fall because then it meant the next day was the first day of winter. Right. And I just didn't like that period of time. But so it's been more of a challenge for me to do the cold plunging more than it has been for any type of recovery gains or performance gains or anything about that. Because and there's a lot of people that do it at Lifetime, and we share our stories. So that's the reason I do it. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I post on my Facebook story that I did it, and I post the water temperature, the weather, and all that to try to get other people to get out of their comfort zone. This is something I do. Maybe I can encourage you to do something to get out of your comfort zone. And then people ask me, well, what are the benefits? And the benefits could be reduced inflammation, increased immunity, are the main things that people do it for. And also, people that I follow will tell me, you don't want a cold plunge right after a workout because you want the inflammation, because inflammation will enhance muscle growth and muscle stimulation and adaptation. So if you're going to do some sort of cold plunge, don't do it immediately after exercise, even though we think that's the best time because it does feel really good. The science and the research is inconclusive about that. So the bottom line is when you hear this myth or hear something, you want to look at the source of and trust what you're learning. Steve Magnus and Brad Stulberg talk a lot about it in their podcast, The Growth Equation, and now their podcast is actually called Farewell. So they talk a lot about wellness, and they are usually my go-to source for any questions I have about certain myths that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is sleep, nutrition is going to enhance recovery before a cold plunge or a compression boot or a massage gun.
So it's interesting you talk about this because I actually had an athlete ask me that this week because I posted a picture of me last weekend relaxing with my massage boots. And she goes, "Do those really work?" And so my response, it's kind of like your response. This is why I do it because I don't know if it works for me. I don't know.
It's inconclusive. Compression is inconclusive.
Right. So what I said was they feel amazing. When I sit there with my massage boots on, going up and down my leg, compression, during it feels so good that whether it's helping me become a faster athlete or recovering more quickly or anything like that, it's not important to me. What's important is it feels relaxing and good for me in the moment. And we all need that. I need that at nighttime when I've been like going all day to put those on my legs and to let them take care of me.
Yeah. That's a good response. And I think sometimes when people are looking for the quick fix for recovery, and I think some things could be a false sense of recovery if you don't have your nutrition and sleep dialed in for you.
Right. And there's one of the top foremost coaches in the world in triathlon. His athletes have won world championships, have been to Olympic Games. And I've heard interviews with his athletes and him as a coach, and these are the top athletes in the world, endurance athletes. They don't do massage. They don't do massage guns. They don't do ice baths. They don't do compression boots. They sleep. They take naps all day long, and their nutrition is dialed in. And these are very scientific people.
I've read those.
Yeah, they do. They draw blood every 10 minutes during a workout to see where their lactate is at. These are very specific scientific people, and they do not do all these gimmicky things. So I would ask yourself, if you are, like Wendy just said, if you're looking for like that quick fix, if you have a reason, like Wendy's expanding her mental capacity and her comfort zone by doing these cold plunges. I'm taking care of myself and nourishing my body by doing my compression leg things. So we're not relying on them to help us become better athletes. They're an addition to that for us.
Right.
So, all right. So my first one, and so the three I picked are ones that I get all the time. So I know you guys have heard this a million times. So the first one is you need to detox regularly, like a juice cleanse or a detox cleanse, in order to be healthy and to detoxify your body. So especially January, people are like, I'm doing a cleanse. January 1st, I'm doing a cleanse. Or I gained 4 pounds on vacation. I'm going to do a cleanse. And I think a lot of this, I don't know where it initially came from, but I know that the media and like juice cleanses and the grapefruit cleanse and the blah, blah, blah cleanse, they have been around since I was a child. Like you're always hearing about like the celebrities are doing the grapefruit diet or whatever. What the science is that our bodies naturally detox. That's part of our system. Our
That's
liver,
why we have a liver and kidneys.
kidney, that's what I was just going to say. Our liver and kidneys, that's what they're designed to do in our body, is to detox our body. So special detox diets they're often ineffective and aren't necessary. However, just like we talked about on the last thing, if you're doing it for a specific reason that makes you feel good and it's not anything unhealthy, then if you're like, oh my gosh, I have so much energy on the cranberry juice diet, I'm going to drink cranberry juice for 3 days. It's not going to kill you. And if it makes you feel amazing, then do the cranberry juice diet. I've done that with the Master Cleanse before. And Master Cleanse, there's a lot of weird research. Like some people are saying it's amazing. Some people are saying it's horrible. When I do it, it clears my head and it makes me feel good. So I know my body's detoxing. I'm not doing it as a detox. I'm doing it for whatever reasons it's fulfilling me and it's not hurting me. Is it helping me? It helps me mentally. And that's what's important. What do you think about cleanses?
Yeah, I mean, cleanses was on my list, but I thought you would bring it up because I know you've done cleanses yourself before. Like I already said, and you already said, the liver and the kidneys are natural detoxing. I think a lot of people do a detox to lose weight or to jumpstart some sort of weight loss program or some sort of, clean eating program. It has to usually do with, I think, a diet, weight loss.
Right.
And the con of that, some sort of detox, could be you're going to become in a nutrient deficiency, depending on how long it lasts. You could become just malnourished, again, depending on how long it lasts, because people could take things to the extreme, develop some sort of disordered eating mentality. So anything that's like an extreme thing, I don't really advocate. And again, it just depends on your why and why you're doing it. If you're doing it to jumpstart some sort of weight loss program, let's look at something else that's more sustainable and that you can live with instead of depriving yourself. Because, it's just like fast, people do fasting, people do the intermittent fasting. Usually most people, that's not a sustainable lifestyle. And it's just like that quick fix where you're depriving yourself of food that retains water. And if you're going to lose any weight by not eating that food, you're not retaining water, it's going to be a water loss issue. Depending
and then you
on
gain it right back.
You're doing.
That I think is a big, another big con with doing a detox is you're doing I'm doing a 3-day detox. You're like, oh my God, I lost 6 pounds. Again, what Wendy said, it's not sustainable typically. So when you start eating again, you're going to gain that weight back. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend, and we talked about this on our nutrition podcast. If somebody says to me, I want to do a detox, to me, the healthiest, best detox that if you stick with and make this part of your lifestyle, it's going to help you lose weight, is stay hydrated and eat lots of fruits and vegetables. Because if you do a fruit and vegetable, not a juice, because juice doesn't have any fiber. And so you absorb some of the nutrients. It kind of flows right through you. It's pretty expensive and pretty, I've done juice detoxes. I bought a whole juicer. It would literally $20 of fruits and vegetables would juice into 1 cup.
Right.
I'm like, and then I would have to spend all, juicing it, putting the thing in, and I would drink my juice. And I'm like, an hour later, I'm like, I'm starving. I need another juice. But if you start eating more fruits, more vegetables, that fiber is going to keep you fuller. It's going to give you tons of nutrients. It's going to start reprogramming your gut biome, because that's what your gut biome needs, is fiber. And the more variety you get, the better. That to me is a great detox, because you're detoxing from processed foods, from sugars, from highly inflammatory foods, while nourishing your body at the same time. Mm-hmm. All right. What else do you have on your list?
Again, like you, kind of have a bunch of stuff, but let's talk about a subject that not everyone may believe. Carbohydrates don't make you fat.
That was on my list, but I didn't pick it for this time, but that was definitely on my list.
Yeah, I mean, or people think carbohydrates make you fat. I got to go on a low carb diet. blah, 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 blah. And really what's going on is excess calories will make you gain weight. I mean, the simple equation to start with, if you're looking to lose or gain weight, if you're looking to lose weight, you want to be in a calorie deficit. If you're looking to gain weight, you want to be eating more calories than you expend. And there's refined carbohydrates, processed carbohydrates, and then there's the complex carbohydrates. The refined is the white sugar, the white rice, the white flour pastas. The complex is the whole grains, the fruits, the vegetables, and non-processed, just the real whole food. You walk around the grocery store, walk around the perimeter, don't walk in the aisles. The aisles have the processed foods. The perimeter usually has the more whole natural foods. So, it's still hard for people to believe, especially when you're an athlete and you think, I'm an athlete, I'm training for an Ironman or even just training for a 5K. I'm doing it for weight loss. A lot of athletes will start on their triathlon journey to get healthy, and part of that is losing weight. And you have to eat a certain volume of carbohydrates to sustain your energy to be able to train and perform. And as long as those carbohydrates are more on the complex side of the spectrum and less on the processed, I'm not saying cut out all processed. You just want to choose more complex over processed. You should, kind of maintain an energy balance. And then there's just so much more to weight gain and weight loss, your metabolism, your genetics, your age, your muscle mass to lean body mass. It's not just a calories in, calories out equation, but that's definitely where you want to start.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think one thing that people don't realize, and we did talk about this a little bit on our nutrition podcast, is that carbohydrates, people are like, carbs are bad, carbs are bad, carbs are bad. Fruit and vegetables are carbs. So fruits and vegetables aren't, even though vegetables have some protein in them, and most fruits and vegetables don't have fat unless, like coconut, but avocado, olives, I guess some do. But like in general, they're not considered fats or proteins. Fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates.
Right. And they have all your vitamins and minerals that you need.
So yeah, so when you're saying like, oh, stay away from carbs, maybe what you're meaning is I'm trying to stay away from processed foods, which is a great thing to stay away from.
Yep.
So good one. All right. This one.
Let me just jump in on the whole weight gain. When you do reduce your carbohydrate consumption, again, carbohydrates retain water. So going back to when you reduce that carbohydrate consumption and you do lose weight, it's going to be mostly water weight, especially initially, if you're not in a caloric deficit. It's going to be water weight because you're eating less carbs. So you're not retaining that water. There's nothing wrong with retaining water, especially if you're athletic. You need hydration.
Yeah, our body needs water. So if we're not retaining any water, then we're going to be in a constant state of dehydration. So our body needs to retain water.
Right.
So, all right, this is a big one. I know if you're a personal trainer out there, or if you have
I know what you're going to say.
Spot reduction. I want to spot reduce. I want to make my belly go away. I want my arm fat to go away. I want smaller hips. I want smaller thighs. I want a smaller butt. I want a bigger butt. That spot reduction is not a thing. And here's why. Our body loses fat systematically based on our genetics. Can we help it in one way or another? Of course, because we can lose overall fat from our body, but locally, you can't take there. If you hold fat in your belly, there are no amount of crunches you can do to get rid of that belly fat. If you are losing fat from your overall body, if you're losing weight and losing body fat, it's going to come off in the order that you're predispositioned to lose fat. And so one of the things when I was younger, I always thought, oh my gosh, I have huge thighs. Whenever I gained weight, it would be in my legs. And so even when I lost weight, like my stomach would be flat, my arms would be smaller, and I'd always have weight gain in my legs. And I was always spot reducing. Like I'm running marathons. I'm like trying to get rid of the fat on my legs. The only way my legs ever got smaller, less fat, is when I lost more overall body fat. And then all of a sudden, it was like the hard part. And I thought I would never lose fat from my legs. And I did, because I lost overall more body fat. But nothing you can do can take the weight of the body fat off of one specific part of your body.
So I always carry weight around my waist. I call it the mater gut. And the reason I call it the mater gut, because it wasn't until I was about 25 years old that I looked at my mom, my dad, and my sister.
You're like, darn you.
And I'm like, oh, this is totally a genetic thing.
Right.
We carry our weight around our waist, and we all have very thin legs.
Yeah.
Genetics.
Yep. Yeah. Same with my family. Like when you look at the women in my family, like we all have pretty small, like upper bodies, small breasts, no body fat around our waist. Even after my sister's like 3 babies, she was still like had a flat stomach. But you look at us and we're more pear-shaped. So we hold our weight a little more in our hips and our legs. And if I gain weight, if I gain 10 pounds from the waist up, you would never know. But I gain it from the waist down. And I look at my mother and I look at my grandma and I look at my sister, and we're all have that same shape. Genetics.
Yep. And when I gain weight, it goes in my gut, and I can easily hide my waist with baggier clothes.
Right.
I was told multiple times throughout my life, are you expecting? Like I've been asked, not told.
Right.
I've been asked, are you expecting? Meaning, oh my God, I'm like too chunky around my waist. Someone thinks I'm pregnant. I mean, that was a mental blow, like initially, but I'm like, whatever. I can't believe you'd ask someone that when you didn't really know them that well.
Yeah, just a PSA, you guys. If you're not a really close friend with somebody and you know they're trying to get pregnant, you don't ask a woman that.
Right.
Just putting that out there. All right.
All right. So let's stick with the workout, the weight, and I'm going to bring up weights again. Pretty common knowledge, I hope by now, is if you're female and you lift heavy weights, you shouldn't worry about being bulky unless you're eating a high caloric, high protein, dense fueling plan while you're lifting weights and you're trying to gain weight. And there is some genetics. I mean, I know genetics is going to play a role in how much muscle mass you can build while lifting weights. But it's more of you're eating more and you're lifting heavy, and you're still not going to get that bulky unless you're really trying to, and you have your carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, those macronutrients dialed in for you to bulk up.
Yeah. I've worked at gyms since I graduated from well, even in college, my whole college, I worked at a gym the whole 4 years. And it is very, very rare if you looked at every single woman, and not as many back then were like lifting heavy weights. But now if you go to a gym, like Wendy and I both work at Lifetime, which are humongous gyms, and you can go in and see 100 people working out in an hour. And if you look at all the women who are lifting heavy weights, like they're still doing, 6 reps and they're, maxing out, most of them are not going to be bulky. It's our bodies just are genetically not predispositioned. You really have to be specifically working to bulk up in order to bulk up when lifting heavy weights.
Yep.
That was on my list too, but not of the one I chose. All right, this one's going to be this one might be a little, I get this question more than anyone on the planet. And I want to tell you, after I tell you the question, I have to tell you this meme because it's one of my favorite memes. Vegan diets are protein deficient. How do you get your protein?
How do you get your protein?
So I have this meme and it made me laugh. It's this policeman pulling this guy over, and it said, the policeman saying, I see you have a vegan bumper sticker. I just pulled you over to ask you how you got your protein. And it makes me laugh. So I would say 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, everyone was asking this, and more stuff was coming out about most Americans aren't protein deficient. Especially if you're middle class American, probably not protein deficient. We don't need as much protein as we think. We talked about that just very briefly in our nutrition podcast. And we've learned how many plants actually have protein. So these days, I still get the same amount of people that ask me, where do you get your protein? Same amount of people, and especially as an athlete. So I get this all the time. I have people say, I want to eat more plant-based, but I'm afraid I'm not going to get enough protein. Where do you get your protein? Do you eat lots of beans? So that's the first thing people ask me.
Do you eat lots of what? Beans?
Beans.
Yeah.
First thing people ask me, they go, do you eat a lot of beans? I actually don't. I don't have anything against beans. They're just not like a regular part of my diet. I do eat a lot. I drink protein shakes because they're convenient. I eat protein bars because I'm really busy, and it's a convenient way for me to get in some calories. I eat fake meats. I have a 6-year-old. She likes chicken nuggets. She likes vegan burgers. We eat all sorts of things that have soy in them, and that's another one on my list, but we can use that for another day. The soy myth. So yeah, if you just keep track of your protein for a day, most likely you're going to see that across the span of a day, most things you eat have protein. Vegetables have protein, whole grains have protein, and it all adds up throughout the day. So yes, you can get enough protein on a vegan diet. So Wendy one time won the Kona Ironman World Championships, first place female amateur in the whole entire race. Not in her age group, the whole entire race. First place in the world. At that point, she was eating a plant-based diet.
That is when I first went vegan, was probably 3-4 months before the 2008 Kona Ironman. And I never trained as well as I did. And my performance, I won.
Yeah.
On a vegan diet.
And I've been 100% vegan for 10 years. I was vegetarian before that. So I didn't eat any meat since I was a child, since I became a vegetarian when I was 8. And, the last 10 years of me being vegan, I recover more quickly. My performance has skyrocketed like if you see a little chart of me sticking with my progress. I became vegan in 2015, January 1st. And my performance and the last, like, even with having a child, even with all my life changes, my performance has skyrocketed. And we talked about protein a little bit as in the nutrition one. As athletes, we do need a little more protein. If Wendy and I weren't getting enough protein in our vegan diet, we wouldn't be able to perform as well as we do.
Right. And if you're concerned about how much protein you're getting, like Kirsten said, keeping a nutrition log, dietary analysis, talk to a registered dietitian, and they can help you analyze your diet. A lot of calculators online, people keep track on MyFitnessPal and other trackers out there. Before you say you're not getting enough protein, keep a log for a week. I think 1 day, 3 days to 1 week will give you a big picture.
Yeah.
Because most people tend to eat a little bit differently on weekends than they do Monday through Friday. And just start writing everything. Don't change anything yet. Yeah. Just be honest.
Data
Write
collection.
down everything you're eating, when you're eating it, everything you're consuming, including liquid calories as well, and get your baseline number.
Yeah.
And, the supplemental thing was on my list. We'll talk about that another time. But before you think you need to ask someone in a Facebook group what supplements they're taking because you think you need a certain supplement, make sure you get a blood test and find out if you're deficient in anything before you start investing in supplements.
Yeah. When I got pregnant, I had to see it. My insurance made me see a nutritionist, and they were like, "Oh, you're going to have to start eating meat." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's really it's detrimental to your fetus if you don't have enough iron." And I said, I get my blood test every year. My iron has always been perfect." And they're like, "Well, we're going to have to test you." And I'm like, "Okay." And they did, like, right in the clinic. They took some blood. They came back like 15 minutes later and they're like, "Wow, your iron is really high." And I was like, "I told you." But people assume if you're vegan, you're deficient of iron, B12. There's a few things that you can't really get outside of meat. Iron you can, a lot of dark leafy green vegetables you can. B12, it's a little bit harder, but our bodies are pretty amazing. So if we are going back to our very first thing we said today, if we are sleeping enough, eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, drinking enough water, taking care of ourselves, then a lot of these things just work themselves out.
I know our bodies are pretty freaking amazing.
I know, you guys. We should, yeah, it amazing. Anything else you want to add, Wendy, before we go to our listener questions?
No, I think, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but let's save it for another podcast.
Oh my gosh, there's like I said, like my list was like 20 and I didn't even do deep thinking. I just like off the top of my head started writing things. So if you guys think of anything that you're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard this, but I'm not really sure about us," let us know, because like I said, we're going to do a part 2, part 3, part 4 of this topic, because I think there's just so much out there that is so confusing. All right. What's your listener question? Because mine is completely unrelated.
Go ahead first. I got to look for mine.
Okay. So this is the one that last week, because I had 2 listener questions, and this is a really good one. And it's, you guys, if you have questions that you're embarrassed, if you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed, but I want to know, I need help," just ask us, because we've been athletes for a really long time, and there's a lot of things that other people might think are embarrassing or like TMI. That there's no such thing. Get what you need. Ask for what you need. Ask for the things you want solutions for. So here's my listener question. No matter how many times I wash my workout clothes, I feel like as soon as I put them on and start working out, they start to stink. Any suggestions? Yes, I have a lot of suggestions. Just right off the bat, most of our workout clothes are polyester or synthetic fiber, which tends to trap bacteria a little bit more. So this is completely normal. So if your clothes stink, you're not disgusting, you're not dirty. It's totally normal. There's some things you can do. You can soak them in white vinegar is one that's really popular. Baking soda. When I was thinking, I was actually talking to her about this, and I'm like, she goes, "Should I do baking soda and vinegar?" And I was thinking, I'm like, I think that's how we used to make volcanoes when we were kids. Do you remember that? Like,
Yeah.
You put baking soda and you pour vinegar and it like bubbles out. And I'm like, yeah, that's like, don't combine them.
That's funny. Yeah.
Either baking soda or vinegar. Or they also make sport specific detergents now that are a little bit stronger and have some enzymes in them that might break up those bacteria a little bit more. And then I actually, like, those were my 3 things that I thought offhand. So I actually did look up a couple other solutions. They said avoid fabric softener because it coats the fibers and traps bacteria and smells. I want to say avoid fabric softener because for the environment, that those sheets just clog things up. But so avoid fabric softener. Turn your workout clothes inside out before washing to target the sweat and bacteria that builds up on the inside. So this especially would be for if you're wearing like a long sleeve or short sleeve shirt, because we sweat mostly out of our armpits and between our legs. And so flipping your shorts inside out, flipping your shirt inside out might help the soap, whichever soap you use, help get that bacteria. Wash immediately is instead of letting them sit around for a while. Oh, and this thing I read, it said, if you can't wash your clothes right away, at least like either hang them up or like lay them out until laundry day instead of like piling them really tightly into your hamper, because that can like spread the bacteria. Dry your balls with essential oils, and then essentially over time, the synthetic fibers that most of our workout clothes have, they can break down and become harder to clean. And so if nothing works, it may be time to out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it was pretty, I'm like, that was a pretty extensive list. Cause I mean, the three things that I would naturally say, I'm like, but I just wanted to look for a few more. So there you go.
I'm really happy they asked that type of question, because that's not a question that you hear often. I had a friend way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was a personal trainer, and I was her personal trainer specifically because she needed endurance run coaching as well. And she would always ask me, why do my clothes smell like ammonia all the time? And we looked into like protein breakdown, and it became like, okay, let's look at your nutrition. Are you on a high protein diet, less carbohydrate diet, where you are metabolizing protein for fuel? And that's probably why you smell like ammonia. And so this was so long ago, we never really, not sure if we actually resolved the issue to her question. Right. But that's another reason you may be smelling a certain way, is your body's metabolizing something to make you smell that way.
Yeah. And I actually, like, if I'm changing the way I'm eating, like as soon as I start training, I eat more and I take in more electrolytes, and there's times that I smell differently because of what I'm eating and how much I'm working out. So yeah. Our body is metabolizing things differently, or just cleansing in a different way, or my gut health might be changing. There's a lot of things going on in these miraculous bodies that might emit a different type of smell.
Yeah.
All right. What's yours?
All right. This is a different group that I'm in. It's not my group. It's just a different group that I'm in on Facebook. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups. Hi, I'm a master's athlete. And while I still have motivation to train hard, I'm worried about how aging will impact my performance. How do I stay competitive and avoid injuries as I get older? I think this is a great question, and it applies to me. I'm a master's athlete. I will be 52 in 6 weeks. And I have 32 years of triathlon training, wear and tear on my body. And so I'm a little different than most athletes who, if an athlete started training when they were 45 and they're 52, they have 7 years of wear and tear in their body. Whereas I'm a master's athlete with 32 years, almost 33 years of wear and tear in their body. So I think the main things, again, something I've had to educate myself with, but I practice this, is we spoke about this on a previous podcast about how we need more recovery, and it just acknowledging that you may need more recovery days and or days off to allow your body to recover. I was never convinced this in my 40s when friends would tell me, as you get older, you just need more recovery. And I didn't really understand that until it's happened to me. Again, we've already preached how sleep is so important for the recovery. And then as well as the master's athlete, the older athlete, making sure they maintain strength training. As you get older, you naturally lose muscle mass. So you want to maintain that strength training as well as mobility training to keep your tendons, joints, and ligaments mobile. So you're able to do stuff in a full range of motion and be able to do activities of daily living as you continue to get older. Right. You may have to modify your training. I think, as a coach, I have my older athletes doing shorter, less duration workouts and more higher intensity workouts. Again, based on like the Joe Friels that I follow. Since I started training, those expert coaches who have books written on masters athletes and the beneficial requirements of higher intensity training and less volume to sustain the longevity in the sport.
Right. And the only thing I would add to that is we did talk about this on the nutrition one. And we did have a listener questions like about aging, at the beginning of our podcast series, you do need a little bit more protein as you age to
Yes.
support that muscle that you're losing. And then the other thing that I do with my older, just people in general, but athletes, things like coordination, agility, reaction time, hand-eye coordination, anything like that. Those balance, stability, those are all things that we lose as we age. So if you can add those in, like hopping on one foot, doing like agility ladder, a lot of balance stuff, though, even like brain work, eye hand coordination stuff, like we take those squishy balls and like pass them behind our back and pass them under our leg. And those are all things that are going to benefit you as you get older, as an athlete, but also as like a non-athlete.
Right.
So
agree.
Awesome. So what are you most excited about for this upcoming week, Wendy?
Well, this weekend I have a swim meet. Last weekend I got to do a race, no swim meet. This weekend I have a swim meet, and the season's kind of winding down for my high school kids. This weekend is a USA swim meet with the kids I coach, and a lot of high school kids have not been participating in age group or in USA swim meets because they're doing their high school meets. And quite a few of them had a great meet. I went to their county meet on my own, non-paid as a coach, and they did phenomenal. So a lot of them got some new state qualifying times, and I'll also be attending that in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to the swim meet. And my husband just got home. He just reminded me we are taking a vacation on Monday and Tuesday.
I like how you said he just reminded you. Like you're like
just seeing him reminded me.
Right.
We are going to Suches, which is in the northern Georgia mountains, and we got this Black Friday deal back in November that these cabins were 50% off if you bought them during that Black Friday weekend.
Nice.
So we booked, I think we go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday night in the northern Georgia mountains in these cute little cabins, and we're going to be off grid. So there's no internet, there's nothing like that. So it's really going to be 3 days of reading and hiking and running and not using any technology.
Oh, that's exciting. When do you get back?
Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, so we'll cancel our Tuesday call and you'll call me Wednesday when you get back?
Yes.
Well, I have a swim meet this weekend as well. So I'm excited about that, but that's not the thing I'm most excited about. I do like our swim meets. They're fun. There are a lot of, ours are really fun. Like it's a pentathlon style where if you're 8 and under, you do a 25 of each stroke and then 100 IM. And if you're 9 and older,
those are so fun.
They're so fun. You do a 50 of each stroke and then 100 IM. And then we add all their times together. And so whoever has the lowest overall time for 5 events is the winner. And they're really fun. They're like, everyone gets a chance to swim all the events. They go by really quickly. It's a really good, we have both like beginner swimmers that can barely swim a 25 as their first swim meet. So we make it a really good, safe, fun experience for them. And then we have people all the way up to like high school swimmers that are trying to get a faster overall pentathlon time than the last time we did it. We do them every 6 weeks. It's really fun. So we have one of those, but that's not what I'm most excited about. I think what I'm most excited about this week is the new month. I always love a new month. I'm doing this functional training class through an app that I just started using for my business in December. So this is my first like course offering I've done on the app, which is one of the reasons why I started this app in the first place. And so I've been the past 4, 5, 6 weeks, I've been learning about the app, doing research for this course and making videos for the course, editing them and promoting it. And it all starts February 1st. So I'm excited because the whole reason I got this app was to do things like this. And so I'm excited to see how it works, how beneficial it is, how easy it is for my users to access everything, because that's all in the experimental phase for me. So, but it's exciting because it's like my first program that I've put out just on the app which is why I started it, because I want to be doing this every single month.
That's
so
great.
This will be the first one. So it's a little bit experimental. So we'll see how it goes.
That's great.
Awesome. You guys let us know if you want anything specific for topics. Let us know those myths you want us to help you bust. Let us know your listener questions. Lots of ways to get a hold of us. Anything else, Wendy?
No, I think we covered a lot. Again, I'm excited to continue the myth busting type of podcast, as well as answering our listener questions.
Awesome. Well, have a good vacay.
Thank you.
All right. See you next week.
Make it a great
day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten.
If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes.
We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review.
And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week.
Thanks for listening.
Make it a great day.